Hello everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Destiny video. Today Fantasy Flight released a ton of spoilers for Spirit of Rebellion, so we're just going to go through the cards that they spoiled today. First up we have Chewbacca, Loyal Friend, legendary card. Uh, 12 health, so pretty strong. His point values are either 12 or 16. His die is as follows, so it has 1 range damage, 2 range damage for a resource, 2 melee damage, a resource, a special, and the blank. And the special is turn an opponent's die to a side, showing damage, ranged or melee, to deal that damage to a character. So let's say Vader rolled a blank. You could basically turn Vader's die to like 2 damage or 3 damage, and then hit Vader with that 3 damage. That 3 damage die, though, still stays in your opponent's pool, so they can still resolve it against you. But it's a nice way just to essentially use an opponent's die against them. And also, let's say Vader only has 3 health left, you can flip it to 3 melee damage, do that damage to Vader, and defeat him. His point value is also pretty interesting because you could pair him, you could run Elite Chewbacca and a normal Han for 30 points, or you can run an Elite Han and a single Chewbacca for 30 points as well. His die, I really like his die. It essentially has 4 damage sides on it. So it has the 2 range damage sides, the melee damage side, and then his special essentially can do damage as well if you turn an opponent's die to a side showing damage, and then you just do that damage to them. I like that he has 12 health. His die is really strong. I hope I get at least one of these when I open my Spirit of Rebellion boxes or my preview packs when I go to the preview event. But I really like Chewbacca. 16 points is really good because you can still pair him with a lot of other characters. You could pair him with Rey. You could pair him with a single Han. You could pair him with Jin if you're running just the 15-point version of her. Could also pair him with, looks like, so 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 24. You could pair him with 2 Rebel Troopers, and that's all range damage. The only mixed damage, of course, is from his melee side. But that is Chewbacca. Really like the card that they did for Chewbacca. Really like his die as well. And we're going to move into our next character. And the next character we have is Maz Kanata. Pirate Queen, yellow hero card. 8 health, and her points are either 8 or 11, so the exact same point value as Balatik. She has, her die is 1 range damage, 1 focus, another focus, a shield, a special, and a blank. And has the ability, after you activate this character, you may resolve up to 2 of your dice. That's really cool, because you can roll her out and resolve a focus to focus into damage, and then resolve that damage. You could, focus into a special. You can do a ton of stuff with this. You can even like resolve, like if you rolled her range damage and you already had her range damage on the board, you can resolve both of those range damage. Um, Her health is pretty low, so she's going to, if your opponents target her first or just target her, she's probably going to go down pretty fast. But I really like that she's only 11 points for elite, so you can pair her with a lot of other characters. You could even do something like Elite Chewbacca and Elite Maz, and I think that's 16, that'd be 26, that'd be 27 points. You could run her with like Elite Rey and maybe some other stuff as well. I really like her die. She does have a damage side, but it's kind of like Akbar, where he only has the 1 damage side, but you're mostly using him for his focus and things like that. So you could focus a lot of stuff with her. She also generates resources, generates shields. Really cool character. Um, 8 points though, so she's like I said, she's going to go down pretty fast if she gets targeted. But that's Maz Kanata. We're going to move into our next card. All right, next up we have the Bowcaster, Hero Yellow. 4 resources, kind of expensive, but it just does a ton of damage. So we have 2 range damage, 4 range damage for a resource, plus 3 range damage, 2 disrupt, a special, and a blank. Special is deal 1 unblockable damage each to up to 2 different characters. So if your opponent has 2 characters, you roll the special, resolve it, they each take 1 damage, or you just can do 1 damage to a single character. Also, huge plus in this card is redeploy. So once the character that it's on is defeated, you can redeploy it to somebody else. That I think is a huge plus. I like that it has essentially 4 damage sides. One of them being resource costed, but I think 4 damage for a resource is really, really good. especially in Hero. I know I don't think there's a whole lot that can do that currently. I know the villains have the ATSC that has a ton of damage, but the cost on the card is, I think it's fair because it's four. It does a ton of damage, but you can also just, let's say, play a holdout blaster the next round, or if you happen to get two resources during the round that you play the holdout blaster, you can just overwrite the holdout blaster with the bowcaster, which just does a ton of damage, especially if you put it on Chewbacca, who I think the intended character for the card is. I really do like that it has redeploy. It's kind of thematic. Some Force Awakens when Chewbacca's using it, and then he kind of passes it to Han, and Han gets a couple shots on it as well. And I like that even the quote in the flavor text is "I like this thing," and that's the quote that Han Solo said in the movie after he blasts a couple stormtroopers with it. A legendary. This is legendary, so it's probably gonna be kind of hard to get. But I'm really want a bowcaster. Even if I don't get Chewbacca, you can still throw this on. You can throw this on Han. You can throw it on any other character that's going to be doing range damage. You can even throw it on Maz Kanata if you wanted to, because she does have the one range damage side as well. Um, Even though she doesn't have range damage, you can put it on a character that doesn't even have any damage sides on them, like Padme, just to give her a little bit of damage and things like that. But that's the bowcaster. We're gonna move into our next card. And we are on Lone Operative. This is the final card spoiled that has a die. We still have a few like events to go through. But Lone Operative, three resources, hero yellow, two melee damage, two discard, one resource, a special, another special, and a blank. And the special is heal two damage from the attached character, or heal three damage instead if that character is your only character in play. I really like this card. I'm planning, if I get two of these, or at least one, I would want a full set of this to run it in my mill deck. I'm hoping to build a Jin Padme mill deck once Spirit of Rebellion comes out, and this card fits that deck perfectly. So it adds two more damage. It adds two more another discard side, and it also has a lot of very nice damage mitigation to make the characters survive for longer. So you can heal two damage. Let's say I have this on Jin. Let's say Padme gets defeated. When I roll the special on this again, I can heal three damage off of Jin. You can also then combo this with Second Chance, so you have Lone Operative on there, which is either doing damage, getting resources, discarding, and then if you roll the special, you're healing damage. And then if you have a Second Chance, once that character finally gets defeated, Second Chance gets discarded and you heal 5 health. And then if you have another Second Chance, you can play that again, or not Second Chance. You can play another Second Chance. You can play another Lone Operative. And imagine if you had both Lone Operatives on Jin at the same time, and you rolled both the specials, you can heal 6 damage off of that. Or if you're running Cunning in your deck, you can trigger the specials off of this and heal the character that this is attached to. So very cool card. I'm definitely looking to get a couple of these for my mill deck, or even just like a Jin. If I do a Jin, damage deck, this just gives her a lot of survivability. Or if you attach it to Padme in the mill deck, you have survivability on her as well. So that's Lone Operative. That concludes the cards that have dice. We're going to go through some events, and there's a location spoil today as well. So we'll be right back with those. All right, so our first event is Long Con, Yellow Hero, 0 resources. You gain 3 resources if there is another copy of this event in your discard pile. So it is conditional that you have another copy of this already in your discard pile, but I really do like this because you're essentially getting 3 resources out of it for 0, and you're getting like potential use out of the other one that you discarded for like a reroll. So you discard your first copy of Long Con to do a reroll, or if you get milled or something like that. Um, one gets discarded. You play another one, you gain 3 resources. That I think is really cool. It does take a little bit of setup because you do have to have the card in your discard pile to do this. But like I was saying, you can either get it in there through discarding. You might see that you actually have 2 in your hand beginning of the second round, and you might, before you draw, you might discard the first one. It's in your discard pile now. Draw another card and be your first action, play Long Con, and then you get 3 resources. So that's Long Con. I think that's really cool. It's a common, so people should be getting probably a bunch of these if you're opening a bunch of boxes or a bunch of packs. But Long Con, Force Awakens, Han, kind of trying to talk to both the Politics gang and whatever the other gang was. But I do like that essentially you can discard, get a reroll, play this, get 3 resources. That's pretty cool. And then if you have a way to get one of them out of your discard pile, you can play it again and get 3 more resources. So you can use like the Falcon special to play it from the discard pile, and then you already have one in your discard pile, so you would get those resources out of that. That's pretty cool. We're going to move into our next card. Our next card is Planned Explosion, Yellow Hero, 0 resources. Play only if you have dice showing a combined value of 10 or more. Remove all of your dice and deal 10 damage to a character. So this is going to take quite a bit of setup and a lot of luck. So you're going to have to roll well, basically have stuff rolled out that has high values on it, or enough dice where the combined value is 10 or more. You're going to have to hope your opponent doesn't remove any of your dice. And then you're going to have to, obviously have this in hand, and then you play it, remove all your dice to do 10 damage to a character. I imagine it's going to be, you're not going to see this happen a lot, but when it does happen, it's going to be awesome. I can see this running in red, yellow, hero yellow, especially with something like Launch Bay. So let's say you play Don't Get Cocky. You have 5 cards in your hand, now you have 7. You roll out your Launch Bay. You now have 7 damage, 7 whatever in there, and then you roll out something else, and now you have 10. You play your Planned Explosion and deal 10 damage to a character. Again, you're going to have to get good rolls with your stuff, and then you're going to have to just hope that your opponents don't remove your dice. If you can do that, and then you're going to be doing 10 damage to a character, which could kill a character depending on what shields they have or what their starting health, what health they have left, and all that is. This would be a really fun way to just end the game. Be like, all right, your character's at 10 health. He doesn't have any shields. I did all this and this. Everything's set up. I have 10. My value of my dice is showing 10. Play an explosion, win the game. That would be really cool. I don't see it happening very often, but it could be also, it could be fun to see it happen. And then even if you can't get it to happen, it's always could be a good discard fodder for rerolls. So that's Planned Explosion. We're going to move into our next card. All right, next up we have Diversion. This is neutral yellow, so 1 resource. Force an opponent to lose 1 resource or 3 resources instead if there's another copy of this event in your discard pile. So kind of similar to Long Con, but with the exception of that this one, you can basically pay a resource to take away a resource, or if you have another copy in your discard pile, you pay 1 resource to remove 3 of your opponent's resources. So it might take a little bit of setup to get the full value out of it. But again, you discard 1 of them to reroll. Future turn, you play 1 resource and remove 3 of your opponent's resources. Pretty simple. Takes a little bit of setup, but I do like that you can also just play it right away. You can play 1 of them for 1, remove a resource, and now you have 1 in your discard pile. You can then, on a future turn, play the other 1 and have them lose 3 resources. So that is Diversion. We're going to move into our next card. All right, and the final event spoil today was Fair Trade. Like that, fair is in quotes there. 0 resources. Yellow neutral, so you can use it in hero or villains. Resolve 1 of your dice showing a resource, then switch all of your resources with all of your opponent's resources. So, very nice resource control. I kind of like that it gives resource control to yellow, where usually that's like, I know there's red villain and red villain and blue villain have that with Abandon All Hope and Occupation. This gives the option to heroes as well as yellow. I do like that it's basically you just let's say you have 1 resource die showing, you resolve that resource to get a resource, and let's say your opponent is hoarding resources for something like an ATST and Endless Ranks or any other expensive upgrade or event or anything expensive. You just basically trade them. Let's say they have 5 resources. You play this, resolve your die, get your 1 resource. You're essentially getting 1 resource for 5. So you're giving them 1, you're taking 5. So that's pretty big. Really nice resource control card as well. And it lets you, they still get 1 resource, but you're taking all of theirs. So that's really cool. That is fair trade. We're going to move into, I believe we only have one other card spoiled, and that's going to be a location, and we'll be right back with that. All right, and the final card spoiled today was Maz's Castle on Takudana. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Anyway, so it's a battlefield location. The claim is once you claim it, you draw two cards. Place any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck in any order. So, nice to draw two cards, and then if you have cards, let's say you had a yellow character that got defeated, and you have a card that says spot a yellow character, you can draw two cards and put that other card on the bottom of your deck. It's a nice way to basically just get more cards and then also put cards that you might not want to use right away on the bottom. And especially if you claim it multiple times, you're going to draw two, put two more on the bottom, and eventually the stuff that you put on the bottom is going to, come up to the top. So that is Maz's Castle. I really think that could go well in a lot of decks, especially if you didn't have a very good starting hand, and this is the location you can take some of the bad stuff out of your hand, put it on the bottom, and draw two, hopefully to get something better. So that is Maz's Castle. We're going to move into some other spoilery thing. I don't know exactly what the cards are because they're all kind of obstructed, but we'll be right back with that in just a second. All right, and a few things that are somewhat spoilers. I saw this Destiny advertisement on the back of a board game magazine. Looks like there's a few more cards that are at least somewhat spoiled. The Kylo Ren one, you can't even tell what that is. I believe it's going to be an event, but it costs 0. So we have the first one. Looks like an upgrade or like an equipment. Looks like maybe Maz's glasses or something like that. So one resource. It looks like it has one focus, two focus, a resource, and a resource, and can't really tell anything else besides that. The Kylo Ren helmet, 0, probably like an event of some kind. And there is another one, Planetary Uprising, 2 resources. I imagine it's going to be Red Hero, and all I can really make out is says something about doing the battlefield and damage. So maybe if you don't control the battlefield, you play this and do a certain amount of damage to something. That's at least what it looks like for me. Um, that was all that was on the back of this magazine, so nothing really totally concrete, but we have something that looks like an upgrade for Maz, a blue, I imagine, blue villain event, and probably a red hero event, and then Jin, we've already seen her. So that's all for today's Star Wars Destiny kind of spoiler news. Really, really looking forward to this set. A lot of cool cards revealed today. Looking forward to seeing more spoilers from Fantasy Flight, and I'll always do videos when Fantasy Flight reveals more cards for Destiny. So I want to thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Take care.